Thank you. Thank you. Hey, this is Yorkshire. Another pit not working. Look at that, You see, I nearly fell down the rotten thing. Hey, my eyes are getting worse, I'm telling you. I keep running into pubs. And, I must be honest with you, ladies and germs, at this point. I have an appointment next week to see the optimist, and I got it in the eye with a firework and it detached my rectum, and it seems funny. I can't recognise anybody till I'm on top of them nowadays. Can I thank you for that reception? That was wonderful. You know, it's nice to get a warm hand on your opening, you know, because... See, the thing is about this job, I must tell you, this job, you know, it does educate you. Oof. When I left school, I couldn't spell entertainer, right? And now, I are one. No, when I say educate, by the way, I've got a brother at Manchester University. Yeah, well, he's in a bottle in the biology department. But I knew when I was backstage, I knew that you'd give me a chance. Hey, that's all you want when you're a comic, is a chance. Oh, I am not asking you for a kidney. Oh. Because some nights I'm as funny as a crack in a glass eye. And, but I can't walk off. I owe that much money. And I'm as broke as the Ten Commandments, me. And I got my bank statement yesterday. I'm in the brown again. And hey, I don't spend the money, ladies and giblets. No, I don't spend the money. No. My wife, she does all the damage, Raquel. And oh, she's a credit to her cards. She is. And, hey, don't get me wrong, we've had 6 happy years, me and her, and we've been married 25, like, but we... Hey, no, it's not easy, is it? I mean, we all change as we get older, don't we? Do you know what my wife's got between her boobs nowadays to try and turn me on, eh? Her belly button. I know this isn't... You know, I'll never forget our wedding night. She was very nervous on the wedding night, my wife. She said, I've never done this with a man before. I said, well, this is where we differ. I said... The thing is, you know, this is pitiful, isn't it? But at my age, I've started doing things to annoy her on purpose. I have. I mean, little things. You know, like in the morning, I'll wake up, and that really annoys her, does that, baby? So we're in the house, me and the wife, shortly ago, right? Now, before she goes to bed, she puts this stuff on her face every night. Oil of ugly. And, something like that. It's working anyway, whatever it is. Anyway. Now, she'd finished with that and she was just whiting her moustache out with Domestos. And I waited. She'd done half a lip and 2 of her chins, and I said, Raquel, what would you really like for your birthday? Oh, she said, widow's pension, please. I didn't bite. I let it float past me like that, you know, so I waited a bit longer and made her a cup of decapitated coffee. She liked it. She liked that. There's no head on it. And yet when we go for a meal, she likes that frothy stuff, that Al Pacino best. Funny women. So I just said to her, I've been reading a book. I said, shall we try some new positions tonight? Oh, she went, new positions, that is a good idea. She said, you stand behind the ironing board. And I lay on the settee farting all night. No, I bet I'm not on my own, and I bet some blanket lifter sat there, and but your sex life gets a bit jaded, doesn't it? I mean, we were in bed all last Sunday doing it plumber's position, right, and call it the plumber, because you stop in all day and nobody comes. And, so anyway, there's a knock at the door, right? This woman opened the door and two men were stood there. And they went, Mrs. Jackson? She said, yeah. CID. She said, hello, Sid. She said, no, love, CID. Copper in disguise. He said, now, we've been called in by the local colliery. There's been a lot of petty thieving going off down at the pit. We've been asked by the management to call round at miners' homes and recover some of this gear. Is your husband in now? She said he is, but he's right down the bottom of the garden, pottering about and he's hooked. So this copper said, have you noticed any strange gear lying around the house recently? Donkey jackets in polythene bags, this kind of thing. Miners' boots in boxes, anything of this nature. Miners' lamps, boxes of batteries. She said, 27 years he's worked at the pit and he wouldn't do anything like that. Thank you very much, all right? We said, don't shout and get upset, love. We have to ask these questions. Anyway, if you don't mind, my love, we'll just have a walk down the garden and speak to your husband. Oh, she said, don't walk down, go on the conveyor belt. Yeah. Hey, what a ripper, that, innit? And I don't know what's going on in our house anyway. I opened the door the other day, my wife was stood there, she had a basque on, suspenders, stockings, high-heel boots, handcuffs in one hand and a whip in the other. No, she were coming in. She said to me, I am seeing another man. I said, well, do that with your eyes then. I said, do that. So this fella's walking home from the pub one night in the middle of Leeds and he gets accosted by this lady of the night on the street and she propositions this fella. He said, I'm skint, I've got no money, love, anyway. I've been in the pub all night. She said, how much have you got left? He went, I've got a £5 note and that's it. She said, that'll do. I'll give you a penguin for that. He said, what's a penguin? She said, I'll show you. And she undid his pants and pulled them down to his ankles. She pulled his underpants down to his ankles. She stood up, grabbed the £5 note and ran off. And this fella went, hey, bloody come back. Can you remember that game we used to play when we were children, knocking on doors and running away? Do you remember that? They still do it today, you know that, but they call it parcel force. And, I don't know. So these two ladies meet in the market and one says, Agnes, I've not seen you for years, how are you doing? She said, I'm wonderful. Do you know I'm getting married again on Saturday for the 4th time? Can you, 4th time, that I'm still a virgin? And Pal said, you never. She said, I am. You remember my first husband, he was a gynaecologist, you know, and he just liked to study it. And then I married a psychologist and he just liked to talk about it, he did. Now, my third husband, he was a stamp collector and, I do miss him. I can't. Hey, a lovely crowd. And, can I just say it made my day, because I've had a bit of a bad weekend. And I was on the pier I'm in Blackpool on the North Pier with Joe Longthorne, and there's Frank Carson on Central Pier, George Michael in Stanley Park, and George Michael. He only went in to spend a penny, didn't he? Come out with 2 coppers. And no, so I went for a drink with Frank Carson, but we were tired with Frank Carson. He could hardly keep his mouth open. But I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and the waterbed had burst and my pyjamas were wet through. Then I remembered we haven't got a waterbed right now. Do you know, I've read so much about the evils of drinking that I've decided to give up reading. So I just get back to sleep, right? And then she, my wife, starts poking me in the back with a hairbrush handle saying, see how you like it. And, the big problem was, I'll just move my Dorothy back a bit, and I don't like coming on my own, and insecurity that, you know, but that looks better than sucking a blanket on stage, doesn't it? And, so I had to take my mother to the hospital, you see, so I'm coming out of casualty with my mother, and I was holding my mother's hand, because she's older than me, my mum, you know, and I come out and I was just looked in a cubicle like that, and there was a lad there I went to school with. I haven't seen him for years. I said, Arthur, how are you doing? Oh, I'm not very well, John. I said, why? He said, well, they've just told me I've got the worst case of piles that they've ever seen. I said, Arthur, that must be uncomfortable. I said, is that why you're sat on a beanbag? He said, I am not sat on a beanbag. I don't know. Well, it's lovely. You ladies are good. I mean, staggering me, you're that good. And the older I'm getting, the more I like women. I can't understand that either. And, I think I might be a lesbian trapped in a man's body, me. And, no, but I've never had any success with women. If I sewed castanets on my pants, I still wouldn't click. Me. And, I'm not kidding. I've only been out with a tall girl once, and I had to jack it in. And that was The thing is, right, ladies and gentlemen, what it comes from your child. I blame my mother, you know, for this lack of success. Because when I was growing up, every time I took a girl home, my mother didn't like them. She never liked one girl I took home. Not one. So I was in a club one night, and I saw this girl. She looked just like my mother, only a lot younger. So I took her home, and my dad didn't like her. Now, different is it like my wife, or as she known in our house, can't cook, won't cook. And come in the other night, there's a sign on the table. Gone to a car boot sale, your salad is in the garden. Right? Modern ladies, they don't care, do they? So I was going to work the other night, I shouted out, good night, mother of 3. She said, good night, father of 2. She went like that. I think she'd divorce me if she could find a way of doing it without making me happy. And, I think she'd lost respect, and that's a big thing. Because she calls me thick in front of all the pals, you know. She said, oh, he's thick, I won't speak to him. So I've stuck it for months, you know, because I'm Taurus and slow to burn. And I flipped last week. I said, right, thick? Me, thick? She went to Benidorm for a week's holiday and she took 50 condoms and she hasn't even got a willy. Oh, I can't begin to tell you what a thrill it is to be back in Yorkshire here, because I've been doing a lot of work over the last few years down south, like missionary work, you know. And, now, I love the ordinary people down there, you know, the Cockneys, I like them. And, but same as up here, I always get a feeling when I work to really snooty people that when they find out I'm from the north, they talk to me as though my head buttons up the back, right? And I was in this golf club in Surrey and this fella said, was you born up the north? I said, yes. He said, why? Why would anybody want to be born up there? I said, well, I wanted to be near my mother. I can ad-lib a bit like that, you know. And, Sportsman's dinner. Guess who the book for the main attraction? Jimmy Hill, eh? More entertainment on a kipper's nipple. I'm not getting it. Jimmy Hill. I sat next to him all night and I realised there's nothing wrong with my telly. It looks like that. And, so anyway, these two fellas are fishing at the side of a lake, right? They've been sat down for an hour and a half fishing and he hasn't caught one. He's got about 55 in his keep net and this fella's nearly crying. He says to him, I've never seen anything like that. How do you catch a fish like that? What's your secret? This fella said, you got to keep your nose long. He went, you are? He said, you got to keep your nose long. He said, I can't understand the bloody word you're saying, mister. He went, you've got to keep your worms warm. He said, never kiss a fisherman. And, you know, it's a marvel. It fascinates me, you know. You do a job like this and you stand on a stage looking out on a dense crowd like we've got in here tonight. People. Lots of people. And why can't the world be like this? I mean, you know, we're honest people up here. I'm a Yorkshireman born and bred and buttered, right? And, you know, but I mean, we are a bit careful with money, aren't we? We've got to admit that, eh? Careful, dearie me. There's a pub I go in Halifax and every week they have a happy minute. Right now. There's two farmers going my local and they're real thickheads, right? And the landlady said the other week, do you like Scampi? Oh, he said, I like all Walt Disney's films. Let me tell you Now, these two farmers own a prize bull, and they take it all over Yorkshire servicing cattle, you know, servicing. And, thank you. And, the bull's had what you might call a man's type of problem, that brewer's droop thing, and, Anyway, I heard him talking, and he said, how did you go on with bull? He said, unbelievable. I got that vet from Leeds, and he gave me these tablets. I gave the bull 6 in one afternoon, and the following day he serviced 45 cattle. He said, my goodness, what do they call them tablets? He said, I don't know what they call them. He said, but they taste like peppermint. He said, hey, and they do as well, man. Oh, I've never been in good in bed at fettling. And I make love like a video recorder. Fast forward, pause, and eject. No self-confidence. You know, first time I had sex, it frightened me to bloody death. It did. It did. I was on my own. And, But why? Why can't life be like this? I mean, what's gone wrong in the world now? You're not safe in your car, you're not safe in your house, you're not safe on the streets, but under your arms, you can have complete protection. I mean, there's old people getting mugged. This is despicable, isn't it? I mean, I'm pushing 40, right, and pushing it, I'm dragging it, and you know, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have looked after me then, and but the thing is, ladles and jelly spoons, what I'm trying to get across here, I was born in the war. Now, my father, well, he was never at home. He was a hand grenade instructor. He used to take the pin out of my nappy and throw me over the settee. But you see, because of that, I mean, subsequently, I was mainly brought up by my grandmother, who was a militant. Well, she was one of the women who got the vote. You remember with Emily Plankhurst? And she was a suffering one of them women. Now, she had to be strong, because in them days, my granddad, well, he was dual alley, my granddad, or as we say in Yorkshire, he was limp under the cap, right now. He wouldn't go in the bomb shelters when they were dropping bombs. He'd sit there and say, if it's got your name on it, it'll get you. If it's got your name on it. I mean, that didn't bother us, but our neighbours, Mr. and Mrs. Doodlebug. He never forgave the Germans, you know. They bombed his allotment and shelled all his peas. And, hey, I'll tell you. So this Yorkshire fella stands up in his lounge and he said to his wife, right, I'm going down to the pub. Put your coat on. Oh, she said, am I coming as well? He said, no, I'm turning central heating off. He said, Yorkshire fella goes in a card shop. He said to the woman, excuse me, love, do you sell those bereavement cards? She said, we do. He said, would you mind exchanging me one for this get well card? He said, did you see the news at tea time, eh? Paula Yates, poor old Paula Yates, she's going to hospital tonight with hemochromatosis and crematomophobia. She left the other two kids at home. Hey, no. Oh, there's another story on there. That ship, the ship coming from America, it had a whole cargo of Viagra tablets and it sunk 300 miles off the coast. An hour later, the Titanic came up. Hey, we've got an old Yorkshire recipe. You don't need to spend money on Viagra tablets, gentlemen. If you're having any trouble with your sex life, celery, that's the answer. You use it as splints, right? You know, I can't remember meeting my wife, I'll be honest. I just opened my wallet and there she was, right? But you realise, don't you, as you get older, money's not everything, but it keeps you in touch with your children, doesn't it, right now? I think the best time for a man to have young babies is when he's in his 80s, because, well, you've got to get up 10 times a night then anyway, haven't you? And you know, I don't know where it went. I mean, when we got married at first, I'll be honest, when we got married at first, we were very, very happy. At first, we were happy. Then, on the way back from the reception... You see, we had trouble at the beginning consuming the marriage, you know, and we just couldn't consume. And, you see, my wife suffers every month at that time, right, with tension, that PVC, what they get. And, now, as she got older, it's got worse, and she may have to have the operation where they take it off, you know, the ex-directory, that one. And, so we ended up going to see a specialist at the LGI, Dr. Kilcoff, right, so... So I went down with the wife, to coin a phrase, and... So my wife went into the insulting room on her own, like that. When she came out, she was smiling, and I recognised her. I'd seen her do it before, you know. She went like this, she said, "Useless." I said, "Yes, ecstasy." And... The doctor says it's nervous depression, and we have to improve our home life. And I must have sex at least 7 times per week. I said, "How many?" She said, 7 times per week. I said, "Well, put me down for 2. I said,